Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day. So, I want to take this guy here and see if I can turn him into a Wally inspired action figure. So, come on, let's do it. Alright, so here's the body. This was actually a Star Wars action figure that's Finn, and that's just a G.I. Joe head. This has actually been sitting on my desk for probably about a year, and I've been wanting to do this project and just haven't gotten around to it. Now, one thing with this project is I actually dyed this figure with RIT dye, and this is going to prove to be a problem for me a little bit later. So here's the Wally, and I'm just looking at the color scheme with the white and the yellow and the black, and I'm going to try and build this figure off of that. So first thing I need to do is remove this little rubber belt, and it's loose up there, and I noticed, okay, it's just attached on the side of the leg there. So I just went ahead and just take an X-Acto knife and carefully cut this. Don't want to cut your finger, but that popped right off. And then I muscled it down his legs, and then after I did that, I was like, oh, I should probably just pop the legs off. So that probably would have been easier to take off, but these legs came off super easy. I didn't have to heat them up in water or use a heat gun or anything. They just popped right off, so that's pretty cool. It'll be nicer for me to paint this, but the arms look a little bit more complicated, and I don't really feel like messing around with that, so I'm gonna just leave the arms as is. The boots look really nice, and Wally has the black tank tread, so I'm going to leave these boots black. So we'll go ahead and mask those off. Now that those are masked off, I'm going to go ahead and put a little wire around the feet here. This will help me as I paint them. I can hang them up and let them dry. So I've done one coat of a gray primer. So far everything's looking really great, and then I went to go paint white, and as soon as I painted the white, this red is coming through, and I think it's the dye. So I was a little frustrated, so I thought, well, let me try this silver metallic. The silver metallic covered everything beautifully, and I think I'll be able to paint my yellow right over the top of that. So I got out my yellow spray paint, and it's just not covering that great. In fact, I don't like it at all. So what I did was I pulled out some Citadel, I got my airbrush out, and this took about 3 coats, but in the end, it actually looks really nice. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And so I want to seal this in because that airbrush paint is a little delicate. So I took this matte clear enamel, took it outside, sprayed it all down, and wouldn't you know it, that red came right back through. So I'm just like, ugh. At this point, I was thinking I might just scrap this project altogether. I don't know if, because I dyed it, it's just going to give me way too much trouble. But I decided to kind of forge ahead, and I actually just started hand brushing the entire thing, and I did this. It felt like 100 times. It was probably 4 or 5 times that I hand brushed it. While the 20 coats of that dry, I just want to show you, I got some Final Faction parts, and these are little claw hands that are in an accessory pack, and I thought they would work really nice for a replication of Wally's claw hands. So I'm going to try and figure out how to attach these to the arm here. I found this little package of small magnets at a yard sale, and I think what I can do is I can put one in the hole there, and then trim that off and put one in a little hole there that I drill out. So I'll snip that little guy off, and then I'm going to sand that down just so I have a nice flat smooth surface to work with. And then I just test fit a magnet, and I kind of just pushed it in and pressed it so it was almost like a pressure fit, and that held really nice. So now I'm going to drill out a little hole in the claw. I'm starting with my X-Acto knife, and then I went to my little pin vise and drilled out the little hole there. And when I put the magnet in, you can see the magnet is attaching to the upper corner, and it was kind of weird. So I wanted to try it a little bit different way. So what I did was I filled the claw with glue, and you'll see as I put these magnets in, it's going to kind of consume 2 of the magnets. That's okay. So I'm going to line that up and get it nice and straight and let that dry. Now after that dries, I popped out the one magnet and drilled that out a little bit more. And you can see here I actually have 3 magnets. I have the 2 that are glued in. And then I got the one that's going to slide into the arm. And because I have the magnet aligned up how I want it, I can just force that magnet into the armhole, and then the other piece that's glued will push in a little bit further and hold. So that ended up giving me a really nice fit. Things are aligning a lot better, and I will go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. But yeah, I'm liking that. Pretty nice. All right, I am taking a little bit of Citadel silver and painting this claw, and I was actually surprised how easy the paint went onto this and how great it looked just with one coat of this Citadel silver. I'm going to continue through the body, adding little touches of this just to kind of tie it all together. On the neck here, his neck is silver where it comes out and connects to the head, so just putting a little bit of silver paint there. I'm going to take and put some silver around the belt because he has like a little control housing on the front, so I feel like this helps tie in a little bit of that. And this is literally like Christmas morning. If you've ever done any masking to peel it off, that's amazing. So this looks awesome. I'm really pleased with that. Now for the Wally head, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of silver paint just to tie this in with everything else. It was a silver plastic, but I think this is going to make it look a little bit nicer. So here I'm going to add just a little bit of silver striping down the leg. I think that's going to really tie things in, and it gives a little bit of interest again on the entire body just to tie everything together. After letting everything dry, it is time to start putting this back together. And again, these legs, they were a little bit harder to put on just because of all the layers of paint, but those popped right back on. I'm going to do just a little dab of glue here on the back of that little holster, and we'll glue that back down. Now I got to figure out how to glue this head on. Now this was a little like minifigure thing that I got in some kind of capsule, and it fell off my shelf and broke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little piece of polystyrene, and I have it cut at an angle, so once I glue this on, I should be able to figure out a way to glue it on the body. Now I was trying this little peg system because I thought it'd be kind of fun if the head swiveled around, but after looking at it, I thought the neck is like way too high and it's kind of odd, so I think what I need to do is trim that neck down maybe to about there. I feel like it'll feel a little bit more natural than so high up. So this was my solution. I filled the polystyrene with super glue and baking soda so it filled the entire hole. I've got these little flat square magnets, and I super glued those onto the neck. And then on the figure, I took it out to my belt sander and I just ground down the neck nice and flat. And then this piece fits right into that piece. So that worked out pretty nice. The one thing I was noticing is it's missing those little black wires that go from the back of the head and loop around. So all I'm going to do is drill out 2 little holes in the back of the head. I'm going to use my pin vise. I actually used a little metal point and started it, just pushed it in because it's kind of a rubbery material. And then once I got some nice holes, just a little dab of super glue and this little black corded string that I have, and I think that looks pretty nice. So what I need to do now is kind of finish up the neck, paint that silver, and get that all cleaned up, and the head should just click right onto the body now because I have the magnets there. Now I'm doing a couple of finishing touches here. I'm just adding a little bit of white because on Wally's arms he does have some white, and then he has kind of some little caution lines on it. So I'm kind of filling in 2 little white blocks on either side. I'm trying to keep this pretty simple because I don't want to overdo it. So just took a micron pen and kind of drew those little lines, and I painted the belt red and black, and then I was going to paint these little dots of the eyes, and I dipped my finger in some white paint while I was kind of contemplating. And of course, it's one of those things where things are going smooth and you're like, are you kidding me? Now I have to clean all that up. So I did clean that up, and I painted the little white dots. I thought they were a little too cutesy, and I was a little nervous to do this, but after I painted it out, I thought that looks way better. And then I had another idea. I was like, I've never really tried this, but I took some UV resin and I literally just squeezed one tiny glob out, and as soon as I did it, it hit perfect and then started to spread a little bit. So, really quickly, I just grabbed my UV light and started curing it so it locked in place. And in the end, I was like, wow, that actually looks pretty cool. I know it's not 100% accurate to Wally, but I think it works pretty nice for some lenses. I'm about ready to finish this up, but I'm looking at this thinking it needs like one little thing of wash, and I think this really kind of pushed it over the edge. So I think this is looking great. All right, I did not think that this guy was going to turn out. I was pretty frustrated throughout the build, but really quick. I had in the comments a couple people say, oh no, you're not doing your builds anymore because I'm doing my 1M robot updates on my off week. But that's not the case. I'm going to continue to do my builds every 2 weeks. That's at least the plan. And on the off week, I will do a 1M robot update. So stay tuned for these builds. They're going to keep on rolling in. I got a lot of stuff to build. So anyways, this guy here, I was so unsure of this as I was going. I ran into so many difficulties and was really kind of bummed and frustrated that it wasn't turning out. But I kept forging through, and in the end, I think at the very end, putting the weathering on, it makes it look so just spot on. I'm really pleased with it, how it turned out. So, let's do some turnaround shots of this thing. And as always, it is a great day to be a toy nerd. Have a great one.